So what I would like to show you today is how to actually make a selection within your image to then use that selection to mask a little faster. So this is sort of the similar outcome that I want you to have. However, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just start from scratch and drag this layer to the trash. Drag this to the trash. And we'll start from scratch. Now I'm going to just put the navigator away for a moment. I'll need it later. The navigator is good for zooming in, so make sure you're using that and dragging around your edges to make sure you're neatly masking with your brush tools. And I'm going to hit Control O to look at the entire shot here. And what I want to do is I want to add some kind of adjustment first. So let's say that I want to do something like hue saturation and just really change these colors a lot. So maybe I'll go with something that's yellow-green, and then I'll minimize this window. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click back to the background layer because that is where the pixels are that I want to select. So you have a variety of selection tools here. You can select in a rectangle, an ellipse, or a circle. You can freehand with the lasso tool. The polygon is good for like square shapes and things like that that have straight edges. And the magnetic lasso will click on edges of strong contrast. However, I'm going to go to these selection tools. Quick selection will go around the edges of things, usually fairly quickly, and magic wand is going to select by color. So that actually makes a lot of sense to use here because we have some pretty distinct color in this photograph. So the magic wand is a good selection tool. And I know that I'm in the correct layer that I want to do the selecting in. So hopefully when I just click on some of these pixels that are the similar color, the magic wand is going to grab everything of a similar color. Now you also have some nuances up here with the magic wand tool. And if you want to unite, in other words, make more of a yellowish selection, then I think that's going to make it a little bit more comprehensive. So that selected some more yellowish pixels. But play around with some of these settings in the magic wand tool if you need to. Now I've got my selection, so that's great. And that's going to allow me to go to the adjustment that I made. And when you're masking your adjustments, you need to make sure your frame is around the white layer mask. Your frame could also be on the adjustment itself. Remember, when you double click on the adjustment, usually the properties will come up and you can, re-edit that. So that's one of the benefits of putting your adjustments down here. So let's say, if I want to re-edit that, maybe I need it a little bit more green, then I'm okay with that. And I can minimize those properties. Now, just to review, you can get the same adjustments from the image menu up here, but remember, they're not going to be in their own layer, so there's no way to mask parts of those out. So you have less control, and you got to be happy when you choose them from here because they are going to embed themselves within your background layer. But I like the adjustment layers because it allows us to be more flexible. We can re-edit, we can drag them to the trash if we don't need them. They are much more flexible and they utilize something called non-destructive editing, which means we're not going to disrupt this background image at all. We're actually doing all the editing above. So the nice thing about having a selection is I can now mask, and the masking will be constrained within the selection. So that may help your brushing go a lot faster because you're already within the parameters that you're trying to brush back. So as long as I know my frame is around my white mask here, now I can grab my brush tool Remember, the letter B is for brush if you want to use your keyboard. Let me just see if I can move these settings here. So we want to be on our default colors, black and white. Let's see if I can minimize this. Highlight clicks. Okay. So your black and white colors are working with your brush tool, and that's going to allow you to do the masking. If you don't have the default black and white colors, hitting D brings you back to the default black and white colors. You do not need to use the color picker because it might be hard for you to land on that pure black or pure white. So we don't use it. We just click D. It brings us back to the default black and white colors. And then we also have the ability to swap these colors. So I'm going to go ahead and swap with the arrows because I want to brush with a black brush that is going to mask any of the hue saturation that I did here. So here I go with my brushing. My brush is kind of on the small side. I might bring it up a little bit. And I like to make sure that my brush is set at 0% hardness. So it's a nice feathered edge like this, and it's not hard like that would be at 100%. And this way, a soft brush is a little bit more forgiving and it's feathered out and it blends better. So that's typically why I would use a 0% hardness brush. So I can actually start brushing back the color. And if you notice, it is going to stay within the constraints of the selection that I made. So that makes my masking go a lot faster. And I can keep that kind of nice green glow around my original heart. And that's where my adjustment is. It's on the rest of the picture, but I'm bringing back the original underneath. So black reveals what's underneath and the white conceals. The white is the mask. All right, have fun with that editing.